the old lady suddenly discovered that her deceased husband had deceived her for 35 years. Because when she was sorting through his belongings, she unexpectedly found an 8mm thick videotape. When she watched the content inside, she was stunned. Because in this videotape, there was the entire process of a young girl being brutally murdered. And from the footage of this videotape, it was obvious that this was not a movie but more like a documentary that was specially filmed. The old lady couldn't understand why her husband, who was honest and kind in life, would have such a thing. To solve the mystery in her heart, she spent a large sum of money to hire a private detective to investigate the truth. However, when the detective Cage saw the content of the videotape, he suddenly felt a chill down his spine because the content was too cruel. So cruel that he couldn't bear to look directly at it. But to solve the mystery, he still forced himself to watch it all. Afterward, Cage suggested that the old lady hand over the videotape to the police for investigation. But his suggestion was immediately rejected by the old lady on the spot because her family was a well-known wealthy family in the area. If they did so, it would affect the reputation of their entire family. The old lady told Cage that if he could find out the truth behind the videotape, she would be willing to spend any amount of money. However, it was precisely because of this matter that Cage discovered a shocking secret that shattered his worldview. The next day, Cage came to the Missing Persons Bureau with a portrait of the girl in the video. Because only by first clarifying the girl's true identity could they better investigate the videotape. However, when he found the staff, they said that tens of thousands of people go missing every year. If they were to search for just one person, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no choice but for Cage to randomly search through the missing persons files. As expected, he found nothing after searching for a long time. Helpless, Cage had to turn to the videotape and try to find some clues from it. Sure enough, after a careful examination, he discovered that the videotape was made 20 years ago. Then Cage saw in the video that the murderer had a pentagram tattoo on his hand. After nearly a month of investigation, Cage finally found the girl who died in the videotape in the missing persons files from 20 years ago. It turned out that the girl's name was Mary, and she was only 16 years old when she went missing. To understand Mary's story back then, Cage followed the information on the missing person report and found Mary's mother. The mother said that Mary didn't have a good relationship with her stepfather and they often quarreled. The day Mary went missing, she ran out of the house after an argument and never came back. However, strangely, Mary didn't take any luggage or clothes with her. This made Cage feel even more suspicious. So he went to Mary's room to search. Unexpectedly, he soon made a major discovery. He found a diary sealed in a bag in the water tank of the toilet. And inside was a note that Mary left for her mother before she left. It clearly stated that she ran away not because of the argument with her stepfather, but because she had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend asked her to go to Hollywood to make a movie. She wanted to become a star and then tell her parents about it. Unfortunately, there was no news of her since she left. To avoid shocking her mother, Cage didn't tell her about this. Instead, he wrote down the name of Mary's boyfriend from the diary. Cage believed that her boyfriend would be the breakthrough in the investigation of the videotape. But when he arrived at the boy's house, the boy's father said that his son was in prison. There's no way. Cage had no choice but to go to the prison to find him. It was only then that Cage learned the truth. It turned out that Mary did go to Hollywood with him back then, but not long after, she fell in love with a director from a film company and dumped him. After that, Cage never saw Mary again. Then the boy said that it wasn't easy to become a star in Hollywood. Only by taking a shady route could one have a chance. Realizing that Mary might have gone to shoot pornographic films back then, Cage rushed to Hollywood immediately, deciding to go to the underground trading place in Hollywood to look for clues. However, when he arrived at an adult bookstore, he was suddenly attracted by the masks on the table. Because the murderer of Mary wore such a mask. After returning home, Cage watched the videotape again carefully. Sure enough, he found that the mask in the bookstore was the same as the one worn by the murderer. So the next day, Cage went to the adult bookstore again and told the owner that he wanted to buy something only available on the dark web. The owner immediately realized that a big deal was coming and quickly took him to the underground trading market. The owner said that there was nothing you couldn't buy here, only things you couldn't imagine. Soon, Cage bought 2 rare videotapes there. However, what he never expected was that the content of these videotapes was very similar to the scene of Mary's brutal murder.